Okay. Oh, I need to also do this. Options. Twitch. Log in Twitch. That's the wrong channel. Let's try this again. Log in Twitch.
Wink.
Oh, what's that? Yeah, not that one. Driving in my car right after a deer. A beer, not a deer.
Also something to check right after before start. Do you have it where they can use redeems during Blood Moon?
That's what I was doing, and then I forgot that I actually need to connect it first.
Perfect.
Yeah, yep. Okay, actions. Okay, events. Points. Good morning, everybody. Hello, 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 hello. I'm gonna figure out something here right now. Global cooldown, default cooldown, allow crafting. We'll do a shorter cooldown specifically for, the Blood Moon. Votes daytime, votes in safe zone. Votes during Blood Moon, yes. Votes during quest, yes. Votes in safe zone, yeah? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
My car right after
Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, how is everybody? We're starting off straight into it.
Come here real quick. I want to show you something that we both missed. No, we both missed this.
What? Oh my god, wait a second.
What the fuck is going on outside? We'll check that in a second. Right here.
Is there?
There's just a shit ton of ammo in there.
Oh, that's amazing.
So it's like, how the fuck did we miss that?
Missed you. I missed me too. I am so tired and I have a headache, chat, and I'm not hungover. I think I'm dying. Not actually dying, but actually dying. Oh, I was like, where's my chat? Why can't I see chat? Why is there nobody here yet? I don't have my Twitch chat overlay up yet.
Did you forget to put your overlay on?
Oh. I wish it was gummy bears.
You've been using the bow, right?
I do use the bow, yes.
Do you have the polymer string mod?
Hypothetically.
It just arrows and bolts fly quicker and further with it.
Ooh, I will happily take it.
Yeah, that was in the box of ammo too. I dropped it right next to you.
Thank you, thank you. There is... Okay, so we do want the shotgun. Gonna put my... I'm so tired, chat. Also 90 days. I know, right? 90 days! Woo, 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 woo.
Let's go!
I'll make it more exciting later on today when I'm more awake. Can I set my axe on fire?
You should be able to.
Oh, hells to the yes. Chat, we can set my axe on fire. Modify. Na 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 na. Good morning, Carmia. Thank you for the check-in. Oh, hi, honeydew. Hello, hello, hello. You were supposed to sleep, Dork? I did sleep. I felt like crap the entire time I was sleeping. It was not good. Dar, when's the last time you got sick? Dar, when's the last time you felt healthy?
Okay, that one. I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that.
Gonna mainly lurking today because I'm working on an ASMR script. Ooh, that sounds like fun. I hope you have fun with your ASMR script. If it's good. Silence. No, I hope it goes well for you.
The cooldown's right over my face. Beautiful. You guys don't get to see me. Fuck you guys.
What?
The overlay cooldown, it covers my face, basically.
What? Oh, does it? What do you mean?
If you have it open, so the overlay, whenever you know integration, you pull it open, it barely covers me.
Oh.
Nah, you guys don't get to see me. Fuck you guys.
Well, the option is either it covers Dar's face, and you all can see the the thing over here, or You can't see the thing. Oh, hell yeah. Wait a second. How much damage does this do? 18. This does... What's this? This is 19. This does 18. This does 18.9. Oh, my brain is so fried, chat. I'm so sorry. I'm going insane. Oh, I should be actually putting traps and stuff out, shouldn't I?
I should probably be helping you, shouldn't I? But I'm doing quests.
Okay, how's my armor? Enjoy your walking home. Good luck. I believe in you. Don't get lost. Fight the power.
And it's already happened.
What's happened?
I just looked over to the
Oh, your shirt's gone. Okay, well. Driving in my car right after a beer. Oh, my brain is so fried. You know what, chat? I'm gonna go take my meds. I'll be right back. Dar?
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess just keep having your shirt off or something.
Yeah, you know, I guess that's how you can provide entertainment while you're gone.
Yeah, I don't need to do more than that, right? All right, I'm right back, chat. You can see Dar perfectly fine. Perfect. Dar is perfect and fine.
The fact that redeems work even when a channel's offline is fucking hilarious. How's chat doing, guys? Hi. Hey, we take a live, you know? That's pretty good.
Hi, I've returned. I slept like shit. Me too. I slept like shit. And it felt so good. Anyways, Oh, shoot. I'm dumb today. Dumb. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, ja. Also, have you heard the thing about I have to bark if I swear?
No, I have not actually.
Yep.
What did I miss?
I decided to punish myself because I've been swearing too much, and apparently that can cause like the main reason I'm doing it is because there's been like very specific videos that I've oh boy. Huh. Hi chat, my name's Gene. I'm totally present here mentally and physically. Anyways, there's been specific shorts that I did that like were very little different than like anything else, but I did swear a little bit in it. And they got like 3 views, while the one above it and below it and then the next one got like 1,500. And the only thing I can think of, like, context-wise, is that I swore in that one. Or I think I said I'd kill myself. Hi, Gibbet. Did you set yourself on fire again? I'm sorry, did other people set you on fire?
I'm coming back to you. I finished all the tier 1 quests.
Nice. I'm proud of you.
I've unlocked the next trader.
We're gonna get on the roof of the building when we get back.
Right.
There is ammo. Go grab yourself some ammo. You have a knife? A cursed doll with a knife. Amazing. People don't appreciate dark humor sometimes. I'm gonna tell some light humor, okay? How many Germans does it take to... Oh, Southern. Okay, sorry. Oh, hi, also thank you for the check-in, Rengoku's wifey. Hello, Echo Inferno, thank you for the check-in. Hello, Katarina, thank you for the check-in. Hello, Keeper, thank you for getting second. Hello, Toho, thank you for the check-in. Hello, Naptime, thank you for the check-in. Hello, whoever got first and second because the thing just moved. And okay, here we go. Anyway, so I'm going to tell you all some light humor, alright? So, how many Germans does it take to screw in a light bulb? Da, how many Germans does it take to screw in a light bulb?
At least 1.
Von, we are very efficient and we don't have much sense of humor. There you go. No. God damn. Well, I can make that joke, chat, because I am German. Also, why'd the German cross the road?
To get to the other side.
Yeah, obviously. What else would you do when you're trying to cross the road? You just get there. You're crossing a road for no other purpose. Come on, guys. This is really a simple thing to know. Anyway. Why the hell are you always testing your goddamn sledgehammers on me? One of them's gonna kill me one of these days. And you're gonna laugh. And I hate you for that. Hi, Volvo. I've been here for the past week, and I have totally noticed that you've been missing, Volvo. So, by the way, I'm gonna have to take you over somewhere real quick. Da, you're gonna go with me real quick. We're gonna go over here. Oh, there we go. Sorry, Volvo. We're gonna have to keep you here. It happens. Yeah. You're just stuck in the cage now. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. He's got. Oh, wait, open. And don't kill. No!
I was tapped out and I tapped back into the game!
Nothing happened to Dar. Dar's fine. Also, look at this random backpack. What happened? Why is this backpack here? I'll never know. I wonder what happened. Anyways. Oh, shit. Why'd my screen change? 1 second, chat. I think I broke something.
Hear me out, chat.
I'm just covering Dar now. Alright, give me a second. Why can't I move me? Let me move me! Why is Dar attached to— oh god, okay. Dar, stop being so short. There we are. That'll do. I think the problem is I had grease on my finger. Don't you do it, Dar. Scuffy McScufferson. I'm not Scuffy McScufferson. Dad, did you know that Dar's canonically taller than I am? Both in myth and in legend. Not scuff, just seasoning. Exactly. I'm seasoning this. Oh, Dar, do you have any like mod slots open on any of your armor?
I haven't actually checked in a while. I think I'm full up. I have my gloves have a spot open.
All right. Would you like some like pocket mod? So you can have 2 extra spots that aren't gonna like wear you down.
Yeah, I'm down. Gimme.
All right, here's a pocket mod. Yo, what's up? You grab yourself some. That's fair.
You had a bug on your foot. I had to help out real quick.
I believe it. Pinky's taller than both of us. I believe it. Oh, my brain is so fried. All right. All right, we're getting close to the time. You want to go upstairs? Oh, do you have yourself some meds? So I am 6'4". Dar is 6'5" or 6'6", hypothetically.
Chubb, I did see the list of YouTuber feet.
Make sure you eat food. And we're gonna grab some meds. I'm gonna grab one of these first aid boxes. Y'all are so tall? Yeah. Alright. Let me know when you're on the roof.
I'm on the roof.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay.
I have gotten 2 responses, Gibbets. Slowly gonna get to more. At least attempt to.
Ow! Why did that appear on me?
Did you walk in your own spikes?
No, my spike walked into me.
Right.
That happens sometime. Alright, alright. Oh, if your back is out... oh, never mind.
It'll be fine. They don't know it.
Nah, I'm taller, I'd win. Is that so? Is that so? Alright, thank you for not pushing me. Oh God. Never mind.
Did you fall?
No.
I can see you.
No, you can't. I'm on the ground. How you seen me?
I still see you.
Morning, Amdis. How you doing? All right, all right, all right.
Parkour.
Are you going all the way up? Nice, 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 nice. All right.
I think it's 22 when night starts.
Yeah. Chat, remember, you can redeem things to get stuff ruined for me. If y'all want to try to kill me and die, that is an option. Then y'all know.
Are you putting spikes around my entrance?
I'm going up top with you. That way nobody can get up. Just gotta wait for them.
Chat, Gene's gonna get me killed.
I'm a genius. Oh, your redeems? What redeems you got? Hey, Chubb. You might notice that I'm currently doing a southern accent, which is going to take a bit for me to get through, and then when I finish that one, I will get to yours. Nya. There you go. Oh, damn it.
You got the flu? End it with something.
Yeah, I am. Do you think I sound like this normally? All right, here we go. Are you ready? Let's do it. All right, I'm so ready for this. Oh, nah, I'm not giving that. You don't need a sledgehammer either. Why do I have all this stuff?
It was in my way.
Alright. What do you think this button does? It does nothing. Never mind, we're good.
Wait, I don't need the button. Got it.
You sound southern all day, every day? Do I? That's very interesting. Wait, I thought I had more exploding arrows than this.
Oh, I have pick some up real quick.
What?
Go pick some up real quick.
No, okay, I'll go get some. That's totally fine. Yeah, let me go.
You'll be safe out there, right?
Where did I put my crossbow? I think I left that downstairs.
You got time to go grab it.
Nah, that's fine. I don't need it. We're going to scrap this. I don't need that. Oh god, I'm so tired. We are going to just toss this. We have the extra bandages in case I need them. And then we are good. Okay.
Here we go.
All right, chat. You ready?
The fuck are they?
Who knows? Oh shit. Don't forget about the ladder. I think they're in the back somewhere.
Oh, this has been a pretty quiet fucking blood moon so far.
You know the nice thing is,
zombies?
they'll get rid of the extra stuff that's on the outside.
True.
Exactly, and so then we don't have to worry about that, since I don't have to break it down anymore. Yay!
Did you make sure zombies spawn?
Yeah, you can hear them. That'd be funny if they can't get through the outside. But yes, how is... Nom nom nom. How's everybody doing? What did you forget? How's Aswan? Got one. I love this. I wish I had a scope. You know how good that would have been?
I think we forgot to close our door.
Yeah, probably. The problem is I did close the front door, so they're probably going to have to break down the front door. I slept for 10 hours? Lucky you. I'm very jealous. I live up here now. Wolfa, thank you for the subs! Thank you, 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 thank you. It's always greatly appreciated to see if you win. Oh, damn. Oh, there they are. Who needs a tent? Gentle's stupid. Thank you so much, though, Wolf. I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mwah. Mwah. I can't believe they broke our tent, can you?
That's fucked up.
That's so fucked up. How are we supposed to go camping now? Oh shit, I broke up part of it. This is what you should be doing. What you should be doing, Baba. Don't fall down. I swear. Oh, stretch. Give me do the stretch. Give me a second. I'm just going to. There we are. What does this do? I'm disappointed it didn't blow up.
There we go. They're starting to get through different areas.
We're going to end this and they're all going to be inside and they're just chilling because they can't figure out how to get up here. Which is stupid. There's a ladder right there. You missed. Oh, well, no. You are allowed to miss stream. I mean, I'm not here every day either. Except I am, but you know.
Oh, are they going to figure out the ladder? No, they're going to the front door. You know what? I'm gonna make this more fun.
Oh, here they come, they're coming!
Oh, okay, I'm coming back up. Oh, fuck, I fell.
Good luck, Dar! I believe in you.
Hey, that's my bike! Fucker's hitting my bike! Rude ass zombie? Oh, fuck yeah!
Yes, this is the best. This one's the best. I like this one.
If I could keep this on permanently, I would.
Oh, yeah. What is it? I drank Monsters. I was thinking and slept at 2:30. That's awful. Gene Daro, hello. What's up, evil?
Hello?
This is very relaxing right now, you know? Honestly, I'm kind of digging this.
This is pretty nice.
Was that you making noises, or did you throw an explosive?
No, that's my sniper.
Oh,
I love that voice so much. I love these sounds, although they got through the first line of defense. Oh my god.
I'm almost tempted just to blow something up, just to see.
Do it.
Do you want to?
The explosion was the best.
I'm going to blow a hole over here. I forgot to light it.
I love the explosion one. Boom.
It didn't open the floor. 1 second, we're gonna try this again.
Boom.
Was he in there?
Oh heck. No, not that I can see. Oh, they're on the spikes down below.
So dumb. Ow.
Oh, my silly sounds.
Or I miss silly sounds, chat.
I'm going down.
They do not understand ladders. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I've locked myself over here. There we are. You're sick but alive? I'm glad you're alive. Does he not make
How
it?
did you get up here, sir?
That's better. I feel better about this.
Yeah, I feel much better about this.
Where are they? Where? Oh, there they are. Okay, another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, and another
They're up
one.
this way now?
Oh, there? Oh, shit. Thank you. And we swap guns, because that one is broken now. I want to try this. Oh, that's the wrong one. Do you like my fire axe?
Yeah, I got a fire sledgehammer.
Oh, shit. That was dumb. Oh, shit.
I want you to know, your spikes have done so much damage to me already.
That sounds like a you problem. Have you thought about avoiding the spikes? Oh, you've had a shield put on you. Nice. Oh, thank God. Thank you for the medication. You can also hurt us. Add more zombies and things. I would not hold it against you. Just letting you know, chat.
Chat, make it harder for us.
You can send us birds. Don't send us birds.
Chat, if you guys kill Gene, I'll do. I don't know. I was gonna say I'll do something. I don't know what I'd do, but I'll do something.
I'll laugh at Gene if you kill Gene. Oh, hey, I didn't know there's a place to go up here. That's cool.
Oh. Good to know.
You learn something new every day. Driving into my car right after a beer. Hey, that dog is shaped like a beer. Yeah, have you thought about avoiding the spikes that are on the ladder?
Fuck your spikes.
I think there's somebody in there. We'll find out.
You're a fast motherfucker.
Oh boy, brain is so dead. He'll be lurking. Good luck, I believe in you. You played 99 Nights of Forest? That's so long. How are you gonna play a game so many so many hours? Would that not kill you? You're going to play the game for how? Oh, scheisse. He's coming up for me.
Step right in.
99 Nights on the Forest. Why would you be in a forest for so long? Crazy.
I don't think I've ever been in that game or played it fully.
99 Nights of the Forest? Hush! What do you mean the forest?
Of course. The game of course. My tent!
The tent is allowing them up. No more shall it be our doom. Oh, this gun is broken.
Fuck your legs.
You should play stupid Roblox games? Okay. Sure, I can do that. Was there a ladder here? We could make that into a ladder. Hashtag blur. Is that even an option? Oh, is there no negative? If there are no negative things that you can do during a blood moon, it looks like it's only supplies.
There should be.
It says cool down blood moon. That's so dumb.
Did you enable it wrong?
No, I said turned it on. Oh, shice.
Yeah.
So there we go, chat. Give me a second, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now cause us issues. Send monsters after us and things. There you go. Spawn coyotes and stuff. Let's do it. Let's do it. Give it to me. Quickly, chat. Scheiße! Ein Moment bitte. I broke it again. Why are there so many settings? They added like extra settings every time I look away. Okay. Where is this stupid thing? Ein Moment. There you go, chat. Kill me now.
Give us your worst, chat. Fuck, I'm going down.
Spawn coyote, spawn crawler, spawn everything. Then I spawn it on myself. There we go. That's better. Oh, chase! We just have to delete the safe zone when we start up.
I'm moving around, grabbing the body bags out of spawn and grabbing the books for us. Hoping I get lucky with that loot increase.
Oh shit.
Oh, you guys spawned weak range at the worst timing. Oh, whoever can't reach in. Much love.
There we go. We got this. We got this. We got this. Oh, it's on the screen. You can look to my right. All the commands will be on the screen. I can hear the birds trying to get in.
Fucking.
I should have disabled blur.
I don't know why Keeper's birds want my ass so bad.
Because they couldn't get mine. It is so blurry. Oh boy. There it is.
Okay.
One day this will end. That day is not today, apparently. Oh boy.
Yeah, they're tiny now. Oh, fuck. This one's not nearly as bad.
Damn it, every time I pull out this thing, more of them come. Okay, you're gonna let me put this down now? Please? Please, please, please. Where I want to put it. Not over there. Fine.
You having a good time back here?
No.
What's going on?
Oh, I'm so dizzy. They're making me so dizzy.
Yeah, screen effects are a bitch.
Oh. My tummy. Hello, Erica. How you doing?
We did it!
That's not gonna end up in the quotes channel, is it?
What happened?
Every time I pull out my thing, more of them come. I pull out this thing, more of them come. I guess that's not gonna end up in the quotes channel, is it? Driving in my car right after a beer. Hey, that bump is shaped like a beer.
Medical supplies, ammo supplies, or weapon supplies?
Ooh, I would like weapon supplies. Oh, that's fine. I'm overwork.
All right.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't remember what books we're all learning, but I put all the books I've grabbed so far in this chest. I'm gonna go look around for more bodies.
Nice,
I
nice.
forgot the books.
I'm ready for the ammo supplies. Give me ammo supplies.
They're over here.
No. I also need to put on a stupid freaking cast. My leg broke.
All right. Well, we survived our first blood moon. No deaths.
Proud of all of us, especially you, chat.
So you know what our end goal is gotta be, right? So you know the radiation zone, the hardest zone, or whatever, the final one.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta set up a base in there and survive a blood moon in that zone.
All right, sounds like a plan.
I feel like that's a good end goal.
Oh yeah. Do you know what I hate about this game? The stupidness that they've added to broken limbs. Like, everything else heals in like a normal amount of time, including concussions, which can take days, by the way, to heal in real life. Except for me, apparently, my broken limb is going to take 22 minutes to heal. But, like, you know, my concussion, you know, that's fine. 22 minutes is an insane amount of time for something to take to heal in this game.
Agreed.
Why would I kill you, Vanya? I'm not gonna kill anybody. That's crazy. I also keep biting the inside of my cheek and it hurts.
Well, stop doing that then. Hey, it's your favorite bird.
And that bird that I hate.
All right, what books do we get? There's one forge book, shotgun book, vehicle book, repair tool book.
You take vehicle book.
Okay, and I'm gonna take the
Shotgun book.
shotgun book too, because I've been working on that. Repair crafting tool, Handyland. I don't even know what I'm at on that.
Me and Dar are such a cute couple. Mwah. Give me a kiss, Dar. Oh, God damn it. Every time I alt tab.
It's just...
Why are you spawning one dog at a time?
What's your repair tools at? I've actually apparently learned a decent bit of those. But I can start going to you if you wanted to.
7.
You're at 7, I'm at 8, so if you want, I can just let you start taking those.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, then there's books in there for you.
You keep sending individual ones at me.
Oh, wait. 7 days gone by. The shop reset. I got places to be by.
Oh, enjoy your shopping. Have fun.
Let's see if he's got anything cool.
Oh wait, if your leg isn't a cast, apparently it doesn't like increase the time by running on it.
That's nice.
Yeah, I'm probably just gonna be like dropping it. Jesus, so loud. Jesus. Why are the screams coming from my right side?
Mm-hmm.
What was that? Was that a scare?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Scares.
Crazy. Crazy for feeling so lonely. Alright, let me put the save zone back up. What is it called? Claim. I need stone. Eat some dog food. Good morning, Wicked. There we go. Land claim has been re-put down. Don't. What do you mean? Of course, G needs dog food. Fight me, Vaughn. Yours. Ooh, bucks. Yay, ammo. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I need to start putting stuff away again. No one else undo. I've lost all ambition for only clean.
Should I be stupid?
Yeah, you should always be stupid. Get stupid, get crazy, go crazy,
Get the
go
next
crazy.
Trader, but I'd have to go into the fire zone and take damage to finish this quest. But I don't like seeing the quest on my screen. Alright, if I die,
I'm gonna laugh at you.
it's Gibbet's fault.
Gibbets, how could you do this?
I just looked at Chad, picked a random person I saw.
I can't believe you're doing this to Dar. Hey, that dog is shaped like a deer. Of 1,000 miles an hour.
Also, I'm 2 of my 3 gear sets that I want. 4 gear sets so far. I'm missing the chest piece and boots of scavenger.
I'll see if I can find him. Y'all always do this. I see Gene is currently putting away. Damn it! I see Gene's putting away all this stuff. Let's give him more stuff for Gene to put away. Oh my god!
Can't believe you're complaining about free shit.
They need a copper golem in this to sort. Any other? Anything else, chat?
Oh, why would you do slow? That's just mean.
Oh, look, a crossbow. I've been looking for that. Thank you. Okay.
That one was just rude.
Crossbow I'm keeping. I have a knife ready. This is a level 1 knife. I don't need that. That's going in weapons.
My bike is not moving because it's slow. It's bullshit.
Oh, hell yeah. Water purification. That would have been so much more useful earlier on. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. I'll switch to playing electronics there for now.
Driving in my car.
I'll keep these 2 food items.
Alright, I only have to travel like 900 meters in the fire zone. I'll probably be safe, right?
Yeah, probably. I don't believe in it, but you know, you got this. No, 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 no.
Enter Bird Force complete.
I'm so sorry, chat, that I can't read anything in chat right now, but I'm so locked in on sorting these boxes that unfortunately you are going to have to wait until I get to the point where I've unloaded my inventory again. Okay. Where'd the crossbow go?
I ate it.
There it is. Fuck. Integration, my favorite. Yummy. What else can I put on this?
Beautiful, honey.
I cannot multitask. I cannot multitask. What do you mean? Of course Gene can't multitask. Yeah, Gene cannot multitask. This has been, like, well established. This is, like, common knowledge at this point. Oh, damn it. Okay, last one. Screw it, I'm just gonna use the crossbow. We're gonna put the arrows away. Arrow. Steel arrow.
Oh, I just realized I have a lot of infected. Yeah,
No! I'm keeping those. I'm going exploring, chat. I want to kill something. I don't want to sort through more loot. I don't want to sort anymore. No. I have a compulsive need to sort it now. Where did this need come from? I don't know. I forgot my bike.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Oh no, new vote started. Alright, chat, I can read chat now. Hello, chat, how is everybody doing here? How have you been? Bye, Volfa, you have a good one. Hashtag C. You know what they say, C is for cookies. That's good enough for me. C is for cookie. That's good enough.
My boots. I need more money.
Driving in my car right after CD's nuts. Why do you hate me? That's insane. Breakfast and lunch is very good today. I like it. Silly sound, hell yeah. What's up?
Extra stupid.
Nice, I believe in you.
I'm doing quests in the fire zone now.
Wow.
They have my boots. I need more coins.
You could have just... Okay. Chat, I'm stuck. Chat, help. Chat, help. Chat, help. Help me, chat. Help me. Help me, chat. Oh, we're good. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I needed chat to save me. Why didn't chat save me? Why did you turn me around? Why would you do this?
Evil.
Oh my god, night vision goggles. Woo! Okay, this is cool. Chat, thank you for this. This one I like. Y'all definitely, what's the word I'm looking for?
Good morning, my ass. Buy something. You better take this job. Let's get one thing straight. You're chop, dumb fuck.
Chop, dumb fuck. Pedal harder. I'm trying. I'm the peddler, chat. I'm the one who pedals. Nom, 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 nom,
Wait,
nom.
there's no way that's what I think that is.
Cha-ching! Thanks, bud.
Why'd you fail?
I'm
Dar.
doing the quest right now.
It just said shared quest tier 2 buried supplies have failed. Oh.
Oh, yeah, because you're not with me.
How dare you? Woof woof. Woof woof. Woof woof. Woof woof. Forge book. Woof 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 woof. Woof 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 woof. Hello, Chunky Butte. How you doing? Or should I call you Chunky Butt? I can call you both. Driving in my car right after a beer. Hey, that beer is shaped like a beer.
But don't expect me to hold your hand through
Book. Oh.
it. You cheap
Book.
son of a bitch.
I miss when you could throw spears. How am I? I'm alive. I'm alive right now. I'm not very cognizant right now. My brain is gone. I've eaten it. I've eaten my own brain. Chat, help. I guess I should actually start looking at things, you know? Okay, how do we... Burnt survival. Okay, find a structure, take shelter. Wait a second, what?
Stamina fast.
Harvest some aloe in the desert. Sunstroke tonic. Okay. Uh-huh.
Don't worry about my health going down.
Don't die.
Oh, I'm probably dead because I'm not finding this chest. I keep running out of stamina.
Oof.
So I'm just dying digging right now.
Alright.
Hey, chat. You guys should get me energized.
Thank you for the follow. Oh,
Help a shark out.
thank you for the stuff too. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Wait, where's the You even found the desert, by the way, have you?
Desert? No, I'm in the fire area right now.
Why is there
The burnt forest or whatever it's called.
Oh. Why am I taking damage? Who hurt me? Who hurt me? Which one of you was it? Why am I hurting? Wait, what is happening? I'm so confused. I see people go. Like, what's going on, man? No! I was biking one-handed. I couldn't turn.
Hey, chat, you guys want to give us, like, melee boost or something? That'd be pretty poggers.
Yeah, do you want to, like, reduce melee that we have? Yeah, we don't want to...
Yeah, I love you, Vanya.
That's melee boost, right? How long's it last?
Finally found it. Did you activate you kind person?
There we go.
So something funny, by the way. My quest that it just had me do was next to the radiation zone, so like the final area.
Okay.
And right next to that is the trader of that zone.
Ooh.
So I'm about to check out what the final trader's got.
I believe in you.
Hey, what's up, buddy? Let me see your inventory. Nomad,
so slow?
headgear, miner. There's a lot of fucking gears. What gear did you want?
I don't know. Oh, you didn't know vehicle, so being on a vehicle is hurting me. Okay. I understand now. Chat, I'm so glad you love me. So glad we're the bestest of friends. Because you are special, special. Everyone is special in their own unique and special way.
Oh, look at you.
Oh my god, I did not know the dance makes the trader's dance.
I've chosen to hurt myself.
Oh, it's fucking beautiful.
I've decided pain is acceptable. Super fast.
He's got a lot of armor sets, but I don't know which ones you're looking for, and he doesn't have mine.
Anything for mining or salvaging.
You wanna? There is a mining salvaging one.
Actually, I guess mining and harvesting. Oh, this is the desert. Or is this the burnt area? Or is this the radiation area?
That's the radiation area.
Ah. Ow. 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 Ow.
I mean,
ow,
there's the
ow.
straight miner set that reduces degradation of mining tools.
That'd be nice.
Okay, so yeah, he does have the gloves of that.
Jump
Or you
to
can
die.
go the nerd. You could go the nerd outfit. That's tools and weapons degrade slower.
Nah, I don't like the nerd outfit. It's heavy.
Wait, what is the miner? Miner's also heavy. Do you not want heavy?
I like the miner.
Okay. He does have the gloves, so that's something we can look to do. You'll need to get 3,000 coins for that. I want to check what the other trader has. I'll go turn in
I
the quest.
forgot that the thing was killing me, the no vehicles thing. And so I just kept biking. And I was like, why am I dying?
Why am I dying? What's going on?
I thought the radiation was killing me. No, it was just me. Me was killing me.
Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. Yo, that reverse is evil. That almost fucked me big time, actually.
That would have been funny.
Remember how I told you the radiation has bears? Guess what I found as soon as I left the trader area?
Straight into a bear.
I got away.
Okay, there's the ice area. Where is the desert?
Why are you looking for the desert?
Because that's the next area we're supposed to go into.
Next area is the burnt forest. That's where I'm at.
I thought the next area was usually the desert.
Nope, burnt forest, then desert, I think. You can check it in the, yeah, it goes burnt survival, then desert, then snow, then wasteland.
I like the desert, though.
Yeah, desert actually is kind of nice, not gonna lie.
Fine, I'll quit looking for the desert. You help? Yes, Gibbets, you help. I'm so proud of you, Gibbets. I need sleep.
Eat doggo.
What was the beep beep? No explosive! I like explosives!
Wait, can you use your arrows?
Yes. I guess they count as arrows.
That's bullshit.
Where'd he go? He gone now.
I'm gonna be even extra stupid.
That sounds about right. Alright, chat. I'm gonna very, very, very sneakily and stealthily infiltrate this building. Are you ready? Are you ready, chat? We're gonna sneakily and stealthily infiltrate this building. Okay, we're just gonna sneakily...
No! A horde starting!
Oh.
Good luck. I'm not gonna be able to help you with that one. I'm
Never
only
mind.
about 2.8k away from you.
Sneakily and stealthily infiltrate... Well, that wasn't what I wanted to happen. That works, though. If I was shaped like a bump, would you run me? Would I run you?
Shielded
I can't run you. You want to know why? Because who run the world? Girls.
Shielded boss is evil.
Oh my god, shielded boss is gonna be insane. Okay.
Good luck. You got this.
Thank
I
you.
believe in you.
Oh boy, okay.
So they made a change with this update that I really like.
I wonder what shielded bosses even means.
Oh, the boss has a big ass shield on him.
Gotcha. Does the shield break?
After a while, he gives you a shit ton of damage. That sounds like it was fucking
yeah.
evil. You
Oh,
might
I
need
think
to kill the
he
other
stays
guys.
shielded. Yeah. Oh boy.
So I learned something. If you want to come join me.
I got a loot.
When you're done looting. So I was a little spooked because I was like, oh no, you know, I gotta be in the fire area if I want to get shit, right?
Right.
With the new update, apparently, if you're inside a building, you don't get the debuff anymore.
I saw that. Yeah.
I actually really like that, so we can actually do the fire area without completing the quest right now.
I am so tired, so tired. Do you wanna give me a kiss? By the way, I can't see my ammo because the water has never left my screen when I picked up 3 bottles of water. And so it currently says I have amount of ammo right now. Mwah.
You have ammo.
I have ammo. So annoying. I'm so tired. Kill me right now. Chat, you're legally allowed to murder me in my sleep. Right now. I'm sleeping, chat. Kill me. Please, put me out of my misery. Vanya, please put me out of my misery.
Not allowed.
I'm gonna turn on box stealing because there's a box for you here.
You're stealing my box? That's fucked up.
I know, right? Crazy. Anyways.
I'll laugh if it doesn't work because it wasn't on before.
Damn. Never mind, I'm turning it back off. You were right. Driving
It's
in my car.
box. Listen, I helped a lot with that quest.
Yeah, did you?
Uh-huh.
I wish that would blow up and kill me. If you die, you hate me? Oh, okay. Never mind, I'm not gonna die, chat. I'm not allowed to die anymore. Vanya said no. Imagine if you were going to be dead, but then Vanya said no.
I don't think you just can't be dead. That's just the
Yeah.
rules.
Damn. I had plans, Vanya, of not being alive. But now I have to. So I mean, ugh, where's the axes perk? Huntsman, where's the axes perk? There's got to be an axes perk, right?
I would assume so.
Give me a second. We're gonna Google this. Axe's perk.
Riding in my car, right here.
Oh, minor 69.
Is it the minor 69?
Oh, wait a second. Oh wait, where's Battle Miner? Wait. Oh, that's so stupid. Okay. So yeah, apparently, though it doesn't say it, it does increase damage to people as well with those things.
Oh, that's lovely. It doesn't let you know.
Yep.
It's so nice of them. I
My
found
skin
a
and flesh
4-star
are rotting.
area in the burnt.
Have you thought about not letting your skin and flesh rot?
But it's so fun.
No. Have you thought about letting my skin and flesh rot?
Nah, that's not allowed.
Sometimes I don't want to exist.
That ain't a mood. I don't know what is.
Today's just a not exist day.
Listen, it's just a vibe. Kill zombies, relax it, you know?
This evening, I'll be doing random stuff. I'm gonna do a special event. Chat, fuck it. Tonight's drunk karaoke. No. It is a no bones day.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, you know, the day before I have to go back to work, drunk karaoke. Gene, you feel sick, and you did throw up this morning. What are you gonna do? I don't know, get heavily intoxicated and sing karaoke for a few hours? Woo! What do you think, chat? Good idea? Good idea or best idea? Hey, put it in the comments right now. Good idea or best idea?
Fucking reversed.
Oh, that's why I turned around. I'm like, this looks like the place I was before. Best, thank you.
You didn't realize?
It took me a whole... I looked down at myself to be like, huh, interesting. And I look back up, I'm just like, oh, this place is like the last place I was. I didn't what? I didn't what, Vanya? Oh, it's showing me a cat. Give me a second. What did you actually say? The best? Thank you wanted. Mwah. You didn't invite me? Oh, your font was covered up by something. Give me a second while I fix this. Driving in my car. No, I'm not going to do the drunken karaoke this week. I might be dumb.
I may be dumb.
Yeah, so I just wanted to tell if you're... No, that ended it. I might be dumb, chat. Chat, I might be dumb. Dum diddy dum diddy dum dum dum. Alright, I'm going to fight for my right to party. Hood morning. Hell yeah, hood morning. Hood morning. Ah! Let me kill you. Oh, Dar shirtless again? When isn't Dar shirtless? Chat, sometimes Dar just ends... Yeah. Make your
I
pecs
don't even know when
bounce.
I go shirtless. Listen, it just happens, chat. You just gotta accept it.
Bounce them titties. Bounce, bounce them titties. Bounce them titties. Bounce, bounce them titties. Yeah, that was so satisfying.
Alright, well, that decided what other weapon I'm using.
What other weapon are you using? Axe?
I decided whatever, like, next upgraded tier gun I found first would be the other gun I use with shotguns. I just found a level 3 hunting rifle, so I guess we're using rifles and Johnnies.
Sick. You made a house underground this game. Very cool.
Ooh, wait, that's actually sounds sick.
Damn, just look at the maps. No.
I mean, the final tier hunting rifle, the sniper rifle. Oh my god, that thing's fun.
Did you see... what's his name? I think his name's Ken. When they were like, why does this man only have like abs on his right side? And he's like, what do you mean? And then he looks and there's only like definition abs on his right side of his model. Just like, I wonder how that happened.
God.
How you doing, Lisa Latte, by the way? Quick little shout out for Lisa Latte. Lisa Latte, how's all the stuff going? How's your stuffies going?
Gene, you should come to me.
I should come to you.
There's a 4-star building. We gotta rob the high school. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'll come to you.
Come rob the high school with me.
I want to. Oh, we're gonna rob a high school? Hell yeah!
Yeah, we're gonna rob a high school.
Oh, hey, tier 2 gun. I'll take that. Let me stop by. Actually, how much ammo do I have right now? I have plenty. Yeah, I'll come by. Energize.
I think this will finally give me enough thing where I'm only now 1 gear piece away.
Driving in my car right after a beer. Hey, that dog is shaped like a deer. That's honestly kind of terrifying. Generally, I don't know what I'm going to do with that information now. Imagine you're standing there and there's a dog. And it's actually... No, god damn it, there's too much stuff. I don't have room for this.
Oh, look at you.
Y'all like, Jane, carry some more shit on you. And I'm like, I don't got the space for it. Okay, anyways, this is for you. I made this for you. And I'm like, oh, shit.
Who did that? You guys are evil.
No,
I
sorry.
don't know who that was, but I'm coming for you.
Come.
And I will find you. You are not safe.
Nom, 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 nom. Why are you making me slow? Damn it! I'm too slow. Chat, you know you want to make me fast. Make me fast. Make me super
That's
fast.
what they voted on. Yeah, that vote almost killed me.
What was it? Oh, did they took away the safe zones?
Yeah, I was in the process of trading with the person. Oh, thank you, Vanya. Yo, I got some boiled meat for you when you get over here.
Bro, you can boil my meat. Yay! It's like I love the Gene mentality video I made. I hate it got no love, but it I tried. Don't reverse me. Homosexual. Oh, I'd fuck. I have soda. Forgot about my soda.
Chat, who do I have to give a kiss to give me regen?
Me.
I want regen. You, my HP's fucked.
My lips hurt. You ever do that where like it like vibrates your lips? You're just like, nah.
Thank you, Vanya.
Oh, yeah, no, I know the video was good, and, like, people have said it was good, but, like, it had no traction on any of the platforms, and so got no love. What is disappointing?
Alright, this is my house until you get here. Oh, there's a person here, die.
Driving in my car. By the way, I've gotten so many follows off of that video. The one that was, like, my chat always says sorry. I'll give you some love directly. Woo. That I don't know. It's kind of surprising to me because I came in. I came in.
Hey,
I came in.
I heard the dog. I heard the fucking dog. Fuck you.
Come out. No, Gene, come out. No, out. Anyways, Nick's Motel. Welcome, is it Nick's Motel? Fuck you? Oh, okay. Driving.
What the fuck is this zombie at?
I can't even remember the voice I did yesterday, but I nailed the fucking Broly nerd voice. So what's your power level? I heard mine's pretty high. So what's your power level? Oh, your power level. What's your power level there? Oh, so we're just gonna be sneaking around right now. We're just gonna be, we're gonna set the school on fire. It's just fine. Don't worry about it. What's your power level like? I wonder who blew up that star system. Huh? It must have been someone with a pretty high power level. I can't hear you from down there, short stuff. Shit. Damn it. Sure. I hate this. So Carmilla, what's your power level? How's breakfast with your family? Did you enjoy your family breakfast? Was that nice? What's your family's power level like? Oh, sure,
Celebrate!
It's right, celebration here. I'm just gonna go see if I can find one of these guys. I heard a guy in the distance here. I'm just gonna hit him real quick and see what happens. He explode into confetti. That's so crazy. Okay. The lion does not concern himself with the... I like that it just doubles my screen. The lion does not concern himself with the frequent chest pains he may or may not receive. The lion does not concern himself with therapy or taking out his anger on others. The lion is not concerned with... Hey, Dar, are you okay there?
No, I'm blurry right now and I hate it.
Oh, no. The lion does not concern himself with being blurry. The lion does not concern himself with DUI laws.
Chad, I think Gene broke.
The lion. It's me, I'm the lion.
So are you sure you don't want to go the nerd outfit?
Why do you want me to be a nerd?
Oh, I just found the level 4 nerd boots.
I mean, I'll take them and wear them. If you want to keep them and just give them to me. Fuck it, I'm a lion. I don't need therapy. Rawr.
Arr.
Rawr. Rawr. A dinosaur. A Duracinosaur.
Arr.
Can somebody explain to me why my bag is going up and down? Can somebody explain to me why this bag is going up and down? I remember dying on this roof. Chat, do you remember me dying on this roof? Arr. A Duracinosaur. Driving in my car, why after? Oh, shoot. Oh, bag. Driving in my car, right after a beer. Hey, that beer is shaped like a beer. Do you beer? Beer. You're doing hunting rifles, I'm assuming? Like the weapon magazine?
Yeah.
Driving in my beer right after a beer. Hey, that beer is shaped like a beer. Beer. Now beer. I drive 100 beers a beer. Little did you know. Beer. Thank you for the Eepsies Pinks. I just woke up.
Ooh, please
And
break
I
into
felt
it.
so good. I just had sex.
You guys know breaking into police cars, you find cool stuff.
It comes with free weapon unlocks. Oh my god, is that a power-up? Methamphetamine. I wonder what kind of power-up that gives me.
I just found bullets, that's sad.
I saw a German. I know, it was horrifying. No, I saw a German, TikTok. And it was a police pull over a guy, and they're like, what do we have here? Unregistered firearm. Cocaine. And he goes, that's your guys' car. He's like, oh yeah.
Oh, whoops. Alright, how close are you?
I mean, give me a few more minutes and I can get there. I found my original bag, my original death bag.
I'm proud of you.
I'm not. I can't find my steroids. There they are.
Oh wait, I forgot. That's my fun stat. Who's died more so far?
I don't know. The guy with all the bags around the map.
So you want to know what our current game stage difference is?
Yep.
All right, you're at game stage 32.
All right.
I'm at game stage 63.
Yep. That's how, check out. I haven't done the first mission.
That's fair. But yeah, no, I checked our deaths. I've died 5 times. You've died 20. A little different, you know, just a small difference.
Fine. All right, Dar. What is this medical place?
Is that the trade? Oh, did you find the other version of Jen's trader?
Oh, this is called Mercy Point Camp. Never mind. Nope. What is this streamer diff? The streamer diff? Gene has 30 streamer and Dar has 29 streamer.
What?
They said, what's the streamer diff?
Why am I 29?
Because I'm 30.
Huh?
I don't fucking know. I'm just throwing numbers at it. Fine, you can be 36 and I'll be 24.
I don't like 36.
Okay, 63?
Alright, that's better.
Alright, and I'll be 78.
Alright. You wanted Handyland, right? That's the shit you're going for?
I mean, you can give me a handy one. Land? Yeah, handy land. You can give me handy land. I'll take it.
Fucking swear.
I'll show you handy land.
Hey, you're almost here. Perfect.
Dies to smoke inhalation.
Yeah, once we get into high school, we'll be fine. I just gotta find the entrance.
We're gonna take over the high school.
Oh, it's the front door. Perfect. I should probably repair my bike. It's almost broken.
Driving in my car right after a car. Hey, that car shaped like a car. Driving in a car right after. Hey, silly sounds, let's go! Woo!
Alright, level 4 area. We should be fine.
Level 4.5.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Sorry.
I was not expecting you to be feral.
I'm sorry.
Driving in my car right after a car. Hey, that car is shaped like a car. Car. I drive 1,000 cars.
I fucking love these sounds so much.
Car.
You and your reverse. I'm gonna come for you guys.
I'm like, I'm gonna walk around this. Nope. Car. I'm outside.
Whoopsies.
He's the best. You're the best. Well, you know what's in
Blow.
Books. So many books up top.
Fuck, I get. Books up top. Alright, I'm coming up here.
Why did that one launch itself into the void?
Sledgehammer crafting. Don't mind if I do.
Just take over the books, take over the book,
crafting
take
in
over
that one if you want it.
take over the book. Ooh, food. I'll keep you alive.
I think that's the.
More
Oh,
books.
it's a big book area.
Yeah.
Okay. Spear, shotgun, random
when I'm-
gun part,
Aww.
vehicle, handy,
Handy Manny.
another handy.
God, you and your
Another
handies,
sledgehammer.
Jesus, that's crazy. Maybe
Listen, I
stop.
like handies. What can I say?
God, in front of everybody? That's crazy, man. Oh, you're making marksman rifles, right? Hunting rifles?
Yeah.
Here's the hunting rifle book. What gloves do you need?
Currently, I have my gloves. I need the scavenger chest piece, and I have all of my scavenger set.
Driving in my... Oh, do you have night vision goggles? Do you want night vision goggles?
I don't really use them, honestly.
Oh, well.
Alright, I'm about to drop some books from here. I think I got all the books in this area.
I'm driving in my...
Right here.
Oh, I thought you were asking me to guess. Books. Do you know what we can make? We can finally make ammo!
Let's go!
I'm so excited.
Oh wait, there's a spot over here.
Driving in
I'm not
my...
gonna lie, I love doing the new map because it's different buildings.
Oh yeah, me too.
Oh fuck!
Oh, you forgot a book thing of... Oh wait, no, you searched it already. Never mind, it's just paper in it.
I don't fuck with paper.
Me.
Oh fuck me.
Me
it's
when
the
I'm a
green
bug
guy.
that only eats paper. I don't fuck with paper.
Yeah, oh fuck, you got over the fence. Oh fuck me.
Hey, can somebody give me jump? I give you all kisses. Mwah. Chat, can you give me hashtag jump and I'll love you more? Mwah.
I might be fucked.
Give me jump, chat. Give me jump. Hashtag jump, please. Please, hashtag jump. Let me help Dar. Let me help Dar. Thank you.
I'm going down. I have to. I'm almost dead.
I saved you, Dar.
The fucking green guys are so fucked. Well, that was close. He's still alive? How the fuck is this dude alive? Jesus fucking Christ.
Gotta repair my gun.
We're good. Tools on this guy.
I'll take it.
Commando out. Yeah. You can go ahead and grab the book in there if you want. By the way, this green guy, I put about fucking 8 shotgun shots like right in his chest.
I think you need the anti-radiation thingy, the thing that like does damage to them. I have that on my knife. Alright.
You know what? I'm switching over my shotgun shells because finally got the better tier.
Driving in my driving.
I have been getting a lot of shotgun books. We're almost getting to the next tier of shotgun actually.
Oh, nice.
And the next tier is I think a 6-bullet held one, so
Driving in my preacher hat. Driving in my
oh, there's a big ass hole here. I'm assuming this is where
Help
we go, or is
me!
this
I'm stuck here. Help! Oh, I want to be in here. Oh, I got it. Stay mad.
I'm going to the fucking hole.
That's storm warning. Seek shelter. Well, fuck.
Okay, we have to stay inside.
That easy, huh?
Yeah. Some angry people somewhere. I love the fucking noises they make when they're angry.
Why is she looking down? Oh god!
Ow.
Sorry, I got scared. I blew myself.
Yeah.
Up. I blew myself up, chat. I didn't say anything else. Shut up.
Ah, fucking crawler. Fuck out of here.
Yeah!
I didn't reload.
You want I'm in a fuck-ass competition? And my opponent is a feral.
Oh, and they nerfed range. And
Turn me around. You spin me right around, baby, right around like a wrecking baby.
road in there if you want it.
You spin my head right. Oh, bow. Me if I was a dummy. those dummy thick.
There's a lot of fucking books in this building.
You'd be surprised. This is a school.
Bro, who would have expected I'd find books in a school? That's
honestly.
fucking insane.
See, that's the problem. They have books and they don't have God.
Oh, fuck.
I can't move. Yeah, why can't I find God in this building, huh, chat? Right? What kind of sacrilegious school is this that they don't have God in this building?
Alright, I think we're good. And we're slowed. Where the fuck's this dude at?
I think he's outside.
That'd be my guess. It's fucking noisy, bitch, though.
Me when I'm a noisy and I'm in a competition. Sorry, that didn't work. I tried.
You ain't got no clothes on, brother.
Oh, I'm repairing them. Give me a second. I ain't got no panties on either. You wanna comment about that? Welcome home. I missed you, Carmilla. So, Carmilla, like, because you're power level now. You're home. Does it change? Does your power level increase now?
Oh, hi, sir.
I think the best thing in the world is finding a bit that somebody hates and then doing it into death.
Agree. So, that was a feral witch fucking bitch. Damn! Yo, my gyms didn't have this in it. Yeah, look, you take a peek inside, look at their gym.
Bro.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I might be homosexual. Oh god, I forgot to do you want to help me here, Dark? No, that's okay. That's fine.
I helped. I smashed it with my hammer.
Alright, so I'm just gonna walk in here. Just gonna see what's going on. It's nothing. Alright. Dara and Gene are married IRL chat. I'm sorry I had to tell you this. Hey, no, totally not. That's what? No.
Bonnie out here doxing. That's crazy.
I mean, not that I don't know why you'd say it was doxing. It's not like it's true. Look, what happens in Vegas apparently doesn't stay in Vegas, and they can't know it.
Bro, Vegas is fun. I want to go back. Oh, fuck!
So what's your power level like?
I like the sledgehammer because they always fall. Oh, there's probably going to be a lot of fuckers in here.
Oh, it's AO3 now. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is.
Hey, I would back up. I would back the fuck up. Try and take out the mutant fucking feral.
I just gave my power level just went up. My power level. Daughter of Gene, because Gene is the bottom. Hey. Switch.
Alright, well, we did it, I guess.
Oh. I don't know. I was expecting this to take longer.
Yeah, that was honestly a bit easier. Oh, there's a crawler. Can you kill him for me? I'm trying to unlock this right now.
Where is he?
Oh, I got it. It broke.
Yeah. Alright, so.
Raider, fucking. The rest of that you can have if you want.
I feel so bad for that guy. He's trying to get in for so long, but like, I don't think he realizes that my power level is higher than his.
What?
It's nothing.
I don't even know what's going on anymore.
Me? I'm going on right now.
Yo! Hey, there's a tire in here. I know how much we need tires.
When don't we need tires? I hate how much we need tires.
There's a few books in these boxes for you too.
Alright, I'm just gonna modify this real quick, chat. Why can't I modify this more? I just wanna modify a little bit. Oh. Where? Where's books?
In the cardboard boxes right next to you.
Why are you not taking the steel sledgehammer parts? Like, you're not going to want to steel sledgehammer later?
That's a later problem.
God, I wish we had all these things that we could have had. Crazy. Crazy for feeling so low.
Oh shit! That's a pistol. Hell yeah.
Me looking down in my pants. Oh, is that a full-on? Oh, that's not. I want.
How much does this do?
Fine. Hit me.
Do you actually do the pistols?
Oh, no, not really. I mean, that's a spare maybe. That's Magnum ammo.
Yeah, I just keep it on the side.
Here's some more pistol ammo.
Nothing. Oh, I have plenty of pistol ammo.
Okay.
I legit have 600 bullets on me. I'm not gonna lie, I thought this was gonna be a lot harder.
Well, there was one part that was pretty iffy.
I wish I knew where the 5-star was. Be like, hey, let's just go do this real quick.
Do you want to go open that Vonnie box?
Where's the Vonnie box?
Oh, I guess it's my box then.
Yeah.
I'm so slow.
If it's purple, it's yours. White's mine.
Oh, am I? Okay, if I take steroids, will this fix my problem? Taking steroids did fix my problem.
Let's go.
Did not see that coming.
When in doubt, chat, take steroids.
Yeah, apparently steroids will fix your problems, chat. I want to get to Von. I'm not going to finish that sentence. No, I can't. I'm not going to finish that. No, it's not going to get finished. I realized how it sounded before I finished the sentence.
Oh wait, I also have more tool books for you.
Oh, you're not calling me a tool. Where is... Okay. That's not you.
Alright, what I'm going to try to do is hope we get lucky, and I'm gonna really quick. This town's fucking massive that we're in. I'm gonna drive around the bike, see if there's a
What's glitchy today?
stuff.
What's glitchy today? Am I glitchy?
Are you glitchy?
Katamiya, you have to tell me what the filter is. What are you talking about? What filter? As in, like, the lighting on me? On your mouth? There's not a filter on my mouth. I just have my mouth.
Hey, yo, you got a glitchy
Is my mouth just filtery? Is, like, the talking the issue?
You gotta grate your mouth.
Okay, what about the... Okay. Are the lips myself not, like, syncing up? Is that what the problem is? Everything is fine? What do you mean everything is fine? Oh my god! Hey, these things are broken. All these things are broken. This is awful and horrible and everything is broken. Also, it's actually fine. Your internal filter? Oh!
R/whoosh. Hey, I found another 4-star.
That's because I'm legitimately sick. My head hurts. My body hurts. And I threw up this morning. Yay! Minus a 4-star?
Yeah, I found another 4-star if you want to do that. I'm trying to see if I can find a 5-star.
Driving in my car. I vomited. It was fun. It wasn't fun.
I added a quick waypoint at 4-star. I'm gonna keep driving around, see if we find anything else better.
I found a 5-star stone axe.
Hey, that's nice.
Vomiting is never fun. It's true, chat. I don't like to vomit. It's not my favorite pastime. Which would be really weird if it was my favorite pastime. No, it is.
Yeah,
It wasn't the sour gummy worms. Oh my god, I did not eat that many. I didn't eat a whole bag of... Why is everybody like, oh yeah, Gene got sick. He must have eaten an entire bag of gummy worms. Why is that the conclusion?
You ate a whole bag of gummy worms?
I didn't... You know what? I'm eating gummy worms right now.
What? Why is there just a mannequin floating in the air over here?
Nom, 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 nom. 1. How? 2. 3.
Don't tell me that's what I think that is on my ass right now.
It's me.
Oh fuck.
I don't have another bag. I did not eat an entire 1.8 pound bag of gummy worms.
Yeah, that's a lot of gummy bears to eat one day.
I didn't. You know what I did do once though? I did worse. I had like a 5 pound container of gummy bears in one day. I didn't realize your stomach could like physically like knot itself from eating too much sugar.
Yeah.
I was in like painful pain, like not like upset stomach pain, like somebody stabbing me in the stomach pain.
Yeah.
I guess I never had made that mistake before. My problem was I just come back from Germany, so I had this 5 pound bag of the container of gummy bears. So I just sat in bed all day eating them as like my only food I ate that day.
You know that is a mood though, honestly.
And I learned maybe don't do that. All the time I got really high and kept eating food to suppress my heartburn. Gene nodding? No. Hey. Oh, where are you? Where are you? And I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry.
I cannot sleep. I cannot dream tonight.
Damn.
He's
I don't think
dead.
there's any 5-star in this area.
Where's the 4-star?
I have it marked. I can bring us there. I just want to check the rest of these buildings. None of them look like 5 stars. Alright, let's head over to the 4.
No. Don't waste your time on me. You're already.
Right. Yeah, no, it's only 3.
The voice inside my head. I wish you. So like
already the voice inside my head.
Hey Chad, what's your power level like? What's your power level?
God.
Hey Dar, what's your power level? No, mine's pretty high. Y'all don't see him. That's 5, 6, 7. I have 2 days left to finish my submission for my voice acting competition. I'm gonna stay up super late at night tomorrow doing it. Or doing it today before stream. Don't waste your time on me. You're already the voice inside my head.
It's right here.
Yeah. Judy Witch.
Yeah.
I slept so much today, I'll actually fight you. That's insane. Wait. Dar, watch out.
God, I wish that was me. I want to sleep a lot. Alright, how do we get inside?
It's probably something dumb like this. It's not this.
Wait, no, I think I found it.
Don't waste your time on me. Is it not that? Ugh. Okay, you know what? I think it might be in like this front booth area. Cause that seems stupid to me.
Oh, I just angered a lot of zombies in this building.
Alright, not there. You know, what if it's underneath the open sign? What do you think?
Could be.
You're gonna turn me into a you're gonna turn me to an you're gonna turn me you're gonna turn around.
You got this. You got this.
Smoo. Moodoodoo. Uma Thurman. I'm gonna turn you into Uma Thurman too.
You know what? Fuck this. I'm doing. Ow. I'm just gonna make my own way in.
No.
Oh, that's a lot of zombies.
There's gotta be a nice way in here. Me when I am Uma Thurman. It's fine, Dar. They made a way in for us.
Perfect. Shit.
I saw that panic.
My guns had to be reloaded except my shotty.
Moo 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 moo. Girly pop, you don't even know how swag I am.
You good down there?
Maybe.
If you need help, just call.
Call. You used to call me on my cell phone. What?
I
know I'm big. Chat, what if I do covers of songs but I sing them really badly? New strat? New strat? Nice. I know I'm big. Isn't that what you... Chat, I'm canceling my streams forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, and I'm going to end my own life. Cause Carmilla just go, I go, what if I sing song badly? And Carmilla goes, isn't that what you do anyway? Isn't that what you normally do? Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Twitch, it's a joke. Twitch, it's a joke. I'm doing it in Minecraft, in Minecraft, in Minecraft, in Minecraft, in Minecraft, in real life, in Minecraft.
Hey, dude.
Imagine, like, I finally hit partner, I make it all the way, and then Twitch can't. Twitch bans me for the joke I made. Oh. Hey, Dar, I found the entrance.
Oh, nice. I found where to go. I'm in the other building right now.
In game. In game. I said in Minecraft.
Oh, that doesn't sound good for my body. So if you go upstairs, there'll be a...
Oh.
Are you good?
No.
What happened?
They set things after me.
Oh, chat did stuff. Got it. Do I need to return?
Turn around.
Oh, I'm coming back to you, just to be safe.
To the shelter. You think you're getting that far? Don't worry, it would be a no-kill shelter. It's a no-kill shelter.
Alright, what's going on down here?
Turn around, Daroard.
Yeah, so this is the next. Here we go. Hey, you got this jump, I believe.
Okay, let me take some steroids real quick.
All right, I'm ready for the jump. There you go. You got
As I shoot out the bridge from underneath you. Did you go up?
No. There's another jump right here.
Hey, Dar. Dar, catch.
Yeah.
I threw it down the stairs.
I was fucked up.
I didn't jump!
You deserve that one. Yeah, that one's fair.
Yeah, we'll send you off to a nice little farm, Vanya. It's gonna be a nice little farm. Jane's stinky stench. Hey, chat, do you want to generate explosives for me? Does anybody want to give me explosives?
Can't believe you fucking fell.
Can somebody give me explosives? Chat, do you want to give me explosives, please?
There's probably a way out of water. Oh, fuck me.
that's only nades. Wait, did you all redeem no explosives? You horrible. Why am I inside of a box?
Fucking hell. Jesus fucking Christ.
Why are there so many ferals? Oh, god damn it!
Hey, you having fun in here?
No! I hate you. I mean, thank you. I hate you.
So, there was about 5 of those mutant zombies I had to fucking deal with.
I'm gonna open these boxes for you.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna open them, I'm just gonna, you know, open the wood.
Yeah. Okay, this thing's just going through fucking lockpicks left and right. Alright, buddy. Alright, what we got?
Oh, medicine crate, please have me get cast. Yes, thank God. Thank you, chat. Thank you, chat. I forgive you for anything and everything that you will ever and have ever done.
I went ahead and opened everything, so I should have the loot done.
Handyman. Oh, we can make food. I forgot about that. Oh, sweet. Tempered blade mod. Do you want some shotgun shells?
Sure. I mean, I got a lot of them, but
Those are the slugs as well.
Yeah, those are
Slugs.
ones I
I'll take the
use.
sledgehammer. Leave the magnum ammo. Oh, here's some special some pistol ammo for you. It's in the ammo box.
take those.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited to just make things. I'm ready slow.
Yo!
You know,
Who gave me this? I think it was Vanya. Who gave me
was-
food?
probably
Because they
Vanya.
gave me blueberry pie.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty fucking poggers, I ain't gonna lie.
Do you know how hard it is for me to not swear?
Yeah, that's why I don't do it. It's too much work.
Not swear.
Yeah.
That's Filio.
I'm gonna be a
Driving in
slug-
my car, what after a car? Are they that car is... Oh, hey, Dar, do you want to unlock the store for me?
You gotta find keys. I can't pick doors.
No, I think you might be able to pick this one. Try this door.
I don't think you can pick doors. Yeah, no. Alright, you wanna break it?
Why'd you hit my skull?
Wait, did I hit you also?
Yeah.
Did I actually?
Go ahead.
Oh, this just leads to the area I came from. You can just go around.
No.
Fine, fine.
No, it doesn't.
Fine.
Ow! Why is your... My arm broke! Keep going, Dar. Keep going. Keep going. Don't reverse me!
I need to stand up.
Alright.
Dude, the sledgehammer does a lot of fucking damage to structures. I love it. Apparently, it's got a big ass fucking range too.
Oh, here we go. Did you loot this car? You did.
I think, yeah.
Driving in my... That door's locked. Can you open it?
Okay, this is actually surprising how much damage this does.
Hi, Flippy boy. All right,
Alright,
chat.
come give it some taps. I gotta get stamina back.
I guess what?
Yeah, you can finish it off.
Yay!
Wait, I don't actually know it. Where is this at?
Oh.
Oh, it's just this building.
Driving in my my legs. All right, chat. I need to take a little break. Dart, you can keep going if you want. I'm just gonna go use the bathroom. Oh, let me get these so I can make you ammo later.
Well, I mean, show us yours.
Mwah. I'm doing good, chat. I'll be right back. Y'all behave yourself while I'm gone. Dart, don't kill me.
I'll try not to.
The tag for my dart tag? Well, communism, man. I don't know what to say. That is what it is. Needs to be a big D? Why is it because Dar's got the big D? Alright.
Huh?
Did that work now? There is a space between the email and the at. There's quite a few spaces between the email and the at. It was the big D.
Yeah, sorry, I have a big D. I need you to keep it there.
I need you to recognize my big D. I have an idea. Me in my...
Alright, well, I have a question for you, sir.
Okay.
Before you leave, because it's going to determine what I do.
Okay.
Looking at the time, how much longer are you wanting to go?
30 minutes to an hour.
Okay, so I should drive around and look for a 5-star area. We could possibly
If
do
you
that before
can
we
find
end.
it, heck yes.
Alright, I'm gonna go search for it, see if I can find it. Chad, if you guys want to see us do a 5-star, you should get me energized and fast so I can get through this area faster. Because that'll help a lot with the bike. Alright, don't die, by the way.
Don't worry, I'm breaking myself up. Off. Anyways, way back chat.
Alright, Chad, it's just me and you guys. How we doing? Thank you, Gibbets. Now, if you guys get me energized with that, I get to stand I can permit speed on the bike. It's pretty... Oh, wait, I think you guys did already. Fuck yeah. I think. I hear Gene screaming, chat. Something happened to him. I think he fell in, chat. Anyways, how's everyone doing? You know, not you know, I'm the streamer now. How you guys doing? Oh, bro, we got ad break in 5 minutes. That's kind of fucked up. Yeah, he fell in the bowl, chat. Can we get F in the chat for Gene?
Oh, look at you.
Also, I need to remember to bring something up to Gene after stream because I had an idea that might help you. You might, give you guys a more fun. Anyways, we're looking for a 5-star area because it'd be nice to find that. Give you guys another fun clear while before we fully end it, you know. Fuck. Fast ran out. No, I need more energy. I need more energy, chat. Good news is I see another town. Question is it in the burnt forest? Oh fuck, I'm suffocating. Oh shit. Oh shit, chat. Oh chat, this ain't looking good for me. Chat, this ain't looking good. Yo, anyone want to hit me with a yo, Gibbets? How you doing? You're my favorite right now. Why would you give me slow? I'm trying to find a 5-star for you guys. That is just rude. I'm trying to get us an area. Why would you do that? That's fucked up. I'm trying to give us a 5-star. You're slowing me. Good news, chat. I found another town, so the chances of a 5-star being here is a bit high. I do see some big ass buildings too, so we have good chances. It's gonna take me a second to get there because I got a little bit slow. Yo, is that some ammo for me? Shit, don't mind if I do. Pew 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 pew. Bro, okay, the reversed is fucked. Chat, I found a big ass building. Chat, I think I found a 5-star. There's no way this isn't a 5-star. There's zero chance this is not a 5-star. Okay, did you guys do something else? My controls are fucked. One sec, I need to get in this building so I stop dying. Alright. Anyways, while I catch my breath, I'm going to just loot some books real quick. Now that's just rude, chat. Anyways, as I was saying, I think I found us a 5-star. You know what that means, right? That means you guys get to watch me and Gene fucking panic again. He's just on TikTok. I did find us a 5-star. Oh fuck yes! It's shotgun area 2. This is a gun spot. Oh, that sounds like that's gonna be good for us. Skibbity toilet? Anyone? And while we wait for these ads to go through, you know how my people without ads doing. What if I eat? What the? Are you asleep, raccoon? Peace and I have bacon? Oh, fuck yeah. Share. I want some bacon. I'm gonna be real. Actually, I should. Never mind, I won't say it. I'll be nice. Oh, I heard a noise, chat. Hey, so you want the good news or the bad news?
What's the news? What's the news?
Bad news is I found armor that's not the armor I want, so I'm kind of sad.
Good news?
Found the 5-star, and it's fucking massive.
Yay!
It's a shotgun factory.
Oh God!
What?
Why are you here?
Yeah, you once you start driving towards me, you'll see it. You should be able to follow the main road. If you head west, follow that main road, and it'll bring you to the next town.
Okay.
And you'll see the building before you get here. It's fucking huge.
Scrap it.
I have Anya tattled on you that you're on TikTok.
I was on TikTok. I was sitting on the toilet. What do you expect me to do? Not be on TikTok while I'm pooping? Now you all have to know what was going on in there. We could have had that. We could have denied this situation from occurring.
Hey, Chad, he was pooping.
All right. I need us to escape this area. I need water. Dar said you screamed.
Oh yeah, I heard you scream something when you were walking away. I don't know what you said.
Oh, I said Dar. None of them can hear me. You smell.
Oh. Yeah, I couldn't hear what you said. I just heard you scream. I'm like, oh, he screamed. I told him he fell in the toilet.
How'd you know? I mean, what? Chat, I did not do that. Crazy. Who would? Oh boy, imagine. Embarrassing. Does somebody want to spawn me something to drink? I would really appreciate it. Imagine if you could just do that, IRL. Hey, chat.
I need some drinks.
Fell into the toilet water, stinky. Give drink. Give me a drink, chat. Give me a little drink. Give me a little drink. Aha, yes! Who took away my vehicle rights? Nap time, why do you hate me?
That is actually just rude.
Why do you hate me? Oh, I love these. Oh, I love dynamite. Dynamite, dynamite. Naptime just hates me. You know, I'm just doing it. Where's Dar?
I'm about 900 meters away from you.
See, clearly Naptime hates me. Naptime hates me so hard. So hard, chat. So hard do they hate me. Look at this.
Fuck. Am I dead?
What? I need to hide in a building to try to recover while I have to wait for my thing to, wear off. You'll make a cursed Photoshop? Why? Proof you hate me. You're gonna make cursed Photoshop of me.
I don't know how I'm alive right now.
Nap hates Sheen.
Hey, you want a pistol?
Yeah, I want a pistol.
Yeah, I just found a level 1 I can give you.
Nice.
What the fuck was that?
God.
Why did it scream so loud?
It was God. And you asked why it screams. Jibubu was awesome. The Gene Boo Boo? Or the raccoon Jibubu?
Jaboo-boo. Chad, you should totally give us book supplies. That'd be pretty poggers, just saying.
Oh, weapon supplies! Woo!
Oh wait, I have to fucking get to you if I want those, and I do want those, because it could be good shit.
There's an untouched one here for you. Good luck, though.
Oh, I actually might be dead.
Do not be. Have you tried that?
Well, I'm also badly infected. This ain't going good for me. Why are there so many zombies on me?
You got a knife? I'm proud of you. Bro got Labubu on his mind. You're a Labubu. Ain't that right, Pinky? You Labubu-faced Labubu. It's in finished pieces. That's right. You know what you look like, Pinky. You Labubu-faced Labubu.
Chat, you should give us regen. Just say cough, cough. Nudge, nudge. Wink, wink.
I got this.
Wait, you can activate him?
I don't want you to die. What's in finished pieces? Is that the building?
What the fuck? Oh, do you see it already?
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you'll see it before you get here. Like, it's fucking huge.
Oh, this is a weapons building. Shotgun Messiah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
This is gonna be so cool.
Alright, you ready to try to figure out how the fuck we get inside?
Yeah. Ooh, my head hurts.
Alright. Oh my god, it's nice and simple.
Through the front door. I gotta check out finished pieces real quick. Give me a second. Chat, the worst part is I can't get. Okay, there we go.
Whoop. Alright, I'm dropping this in front of you real quick. I don't want any of that. You can take
Oh, I've seen that. I've seen that. I like that one.
There are
What'd
like
you give me?
books. There's like 2 books there for you, and then there's other shit that I want. So I just dropped it. Sure. Stay down. Hey, do you have anything to cure infection on you by any chance?
Maybe. If you keep me alive.
There's one dead. Other one's dead.
Yep, here you go.
Yeah, cause I'm like fucking fucked percent. Thank you much. Why are there so many people coming from outside?
Me when I'm outside.
You brought a fucking horde with you.
That's okay. You'll be fine. Hashtag tiny zombie. Hashtag tiny zombie.
Jesus Christ.
Hashtag tiny zombie. Oh, why do I have this hat? What's this hat do? What's this do? Taking off my miner hat. I'm going commando. Chad, I'm going commando. That means I'm not wearing any panties.
Alright, so this area is definitely gonna be harder than a 4-star, right?
It's
like,
okay.
there's no
I ain't got no panties on. I ain't got no panties on. I ain't got no panties on the. Oh wait, hey, you have shotguns, right?
Yeah, I'm running shotguns.
Do you have the sawed-off shotgun mod on your shotgun?
I currently do not know. I have a shotgun choke mod and raid remover. Rad remover, I mean.
There's also this one if you want it.
Let's see what it does. No, I'm fine with the one I have on it if you want it, because I have it where it doesn't spread the bullets as much.
Well, I can spread my bullets. Anyways,
Hey, yo.
Oh, preacher gloves, level 3. Why not? Hey Dar. Hey Dar.
You want to go through the right way?
Oh,
That's probably more fun, right?
Whoa, look at you.
Yeah, it's more fun going
This
through
way.
the legit.
It's like a puzzle.
5-star. Yeah, 5-star areas I don't like skipping. I actually like going through it the right way. It's more fun.
Exactly. That's what I like doing too. Oh jeez.
Oh, I didn't reload.
Oh, how am I out of bullets? Since when am I out of bullets? I've had 150 bullets for so long. Wow. Okay. Well.
Do you have backup bullets? Like a
I
different
have
kind?
backup guns. Yeah. Okay, 1 second while I do this. How's my levels doing? Three points. 1, 2, 3. That'll do. Hot beer shaped like a beer. Beer, 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 beer. I'm 500 beers of beer. Oh, all the walls opened up. Oh, didn't you have another pistol for me?
Oh fuck, I did, yeah. You stole that. How dare you? Here.
Thank you. That'll help.
I actually like using these pistols. They're not bad.
35 bullets, not bad.
If you need pistol bullets, I have a lot.
I'll happily take some.
Okay, here's basically a full stack.
Thank you. Hi, Amethyst. How you doing? How's my favorite birthstone? I'm so tired. I wish I could.
I know we had this chat last time. I forget what birthstone I am.
What month are you?
Talking about this May.
I don't actually know. Chat, who's May? Amethyst is my favorite birthstone because it's my birthstone. Chat.
Wow, bias.
I have to. Hi, Aaron. How you doing? I legally have to Taurus gang. Taurus gang.
Yeah, I'm Taurus. That I do know.
Taurus.
That's locked.
That's later.
I'm Emerald? You know I like emeralds. Emeralds are pretty cool.
Emerald's sick. Emerald
Elevator that can
decent.
be open? Oh, I found another path. Does that actually go somewhere? Hey. Hi, buddy. How you doing? Hey, you haven't fight. Oh, you're fighting. Let me come help you. Oh, you're fighting a lot. Let me come help.
Watch out! Move!
Didn't realize you were running to me. My bad.
Behind you. Oh, Jesus.
Fuck off.
I like
Look,
that.
everybody.
What month are you?
May.
No, Carmia.
Oh, my bad.
Man jumped over my crossbow bolt.
No, come on. Keep breaking the window for us. Okay, you know, fuck off.
Take his knees. There we go.
Fuck your leg. Oh, you're still not dead? Oh, it is.
Hey, zombies. Santa zombie.
Why is there a random crossbow ammo over here?
Oh, because that's what I shoot people with. I'm using crossbow.
Oh, you can pick them back up after you use it?
Yep.
That's fucking
Plus,
cool. I
they
didn't know that.
do higher damage in stealth.
Oh, that's actually sick.
So it's like ×5 stealth damage versus the normal.
Yo, gun rack! Anything good? Oh.
Mother.
Oh, sick. Just gun parts. Who needs those?
Hey, Dar, they're coming.
Oh, is that all? Gotta reload. I'm running backwards, just, you know. Well, that door was not helpful. Bro, he got no arms or legs! Yo, I'm not gonna lie. Leveling up shotgun and using the shotgun feels so fucking good.
Thank you for the follow, lovely punk. How you doing? How you doing? Welcome, 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 welcome. Mwah. Yeah, weak range would be so much fun right now. Don't do it. You know you don't want to do it.
Weak
you know
range?
you love me too much.
Oh.
Oh boy, how you doing, lovely punk? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you know that you are now actually trapped in the basement with everybody here, so good luck on that one.
Listen, no LuckyJene, but I make sure to give you guys apple scraps when I have a chance.
You've been feeding them? What the hell?
No, I would never.
Sorry. Hey, Dar?
Mm-hmm.
There's only 3. New basement friend, new basement friend. I'm so glad I see Gibbets trying to reverse. Did you? Oh, I'm glad I'm showing up on your FYP. Wait, FYP on like TikTok or FYP on here? Cause haha, I'm invading your spaces. I live in your walls. TikTok? Ah, sick!
Oh, yeah.
That is my favorite so far. You're showing up on people's TikToks.
Where did you go? Oh, you're over this way. There's a lot of fuckers in here.
Hey, Dart. Oh, jeez. I don't make weird noises. You make weird noises.
No vehicles, 5 minutes. Oh no.
Honestly, chat, it's gonna be the worst. I don't know how I'm gonna make it through this building on foot, and without a vehicle. I swear I'm normally more entertaining, but this game makes me more hyper-focused on this game, so, yeah, just like... I love this game. I love playing this game.
Oh, and fuck our weapons up here.
Well, no, you know what that means. We just gotta chill out for about... How long is that?
Yeah, chill out. Gotcha.
Uh-huh.
I'm chilled out.
Mm-hmm. I pay attention to Dar a lot. Me and Dar start making out sloppy styles every once in a while. I know, so I can't focus on chat. I'll be careful. Some of these things might drop.
That felt good.
Oh, hey, there's a vehicle book for you.
Where the fuck?
In the garbage pile.
Oh. Bro, I never look these. I'm gonna be real with you.
But driving in my car.
Right after a beer.
Driving in my car right after a beer. Hey, that dog.
Will be safe when I do this.
Do you? I worry about what just opened.
I thought we'd have a lot of shit coming at us when I did that. Not gonna lie.
Oh, jeez, he's on fire.
Oh, my ass!
He moved. He got past.
Oh fuck! I'm on fire! Oh, I can't see! Ah, my screen!
Do not burn to death me. Use the health. I'm still alive.
That one shell killed both of them. That felt good. Okay, they're just spawning constantly out of this.
Yeah, I think that's... You were right. Oh, I remember. I fell.
Oh, why'd you fall? Why'd you fall, leaving me alone?
You can also fall.
Fuck that. I know, bitch.
Darn, I'm lost. Big head would be fun. Big head is fun. Oh, I'm stuck. Okay, well. Hey, chat, you want to give me jump? Hashtag jump. Can I give you hashtag jump? Hashtag jump. Aha. Is this cheating? Why would you slow me?
You got punished for cheating.
I don't want to be. Why? It makes my jump worthless now. Fine, that's fair. That's fair. You're fair. I don't know how to get up there though. I want to help Dar. Okay, I found it. I didn't find it. Hashtag grayscale.
Let me see if I can find where.
Chat hates me. Chat hates me. The chat of perpetual hatred.
Right,
Grayscale's kind of cool though.
I like grayscale. It's like one of the few screen effects I'm okay with.
I'm so slowed.
Yeah, it's
Steroids.
How the fuck do you get back up here?
How did we get up there in the first place?
I don't fucking know. We went through play. Oh, that's the starting area where we went. I'm pretty sure. So you have to go through the whole building again.
Why? Chat wouldn't give me jump. And now I'm being punished.
Cat, can I have healing, please?
Chat, can you not hate me, please?
I'm trying to go backwards so I can help you out.
Oh no, it's fine. I got this.
Thank you, chat.
I got this. You know what we're doing?
What are you doing?
Minecrafting.
Are you fucking blocking up?
Maybe. This game's Minecraft, right?
Yeah. I fucking hate. God.
I made it.
Hello. This is. We continue this way.
We continue this way. Oh, hey, look, coffee. We're going to drink this so I can get a little bit of the hydration. I wish you hadn't made me deaf, chat. Want jump? Sure, I will take a jump if you'd like to give me jump for some reason.
I also dropped you a forge book over here.
Oh, heck yes. We are now at 65 forge.
Bro, our forge is going up so fucking fast.
Why would you? Why, chat? Why are you like this? Where's my ammo? Okay, can I have some ammo, chat? Would you like to give me ammo?
Oh,
No.
looks like we go through here.
Yeah. Here we go.
I love it. I love 5-star buildings.
Me too, me too. They are a lot of fun.
I wish other star buildings were like, you know, still like kind of like this, where it like was a puzzle of where to go.
They kind of are. They're just a lot smaller buildings.
Yeah, just nowhere near as fun.
Thank you, chat.
Oh, I wanted a button to press.
All I wanna do is see you turn into a giant woman, a giant woman.
That was fucked up.
All I wanna be is someone who gets to see a giant woman. What's in there? All I wanna do. Don't miss. Don't miss. Did you do don't miss? So stupid.
Fucking reverse. Ah! Why the fuck? Oh, we had no range, low range on. That's I was like, why the fuck is he not dead?
All I wanna do is see you turn into. You have to do without space. Don't miss. Don't miss. Did I turn off don't miss? No, I didn't turn off don't miss.
Oh, well. Better make sure you hit your shots, buddy.
Fine. It makes us take damage if we don't shoot him. If we don't hit him. All I wanna do is see you turn into. Hey, I got this. Maybe.
I got it.
Oh, how'd you do that?
I followed the red line and saw where it brought us.
You can turn it off?
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
Oh.
You're supposed to follow the fucking red pipes and find the switch.
Remember what we did?
You didn't
last
know
time?
that?
No, I've just been blowing them up.
Gee,
Yeah?
buddy, old pal.
Yes, sir? Darn my
don't
luck.
expect you to. They don't expect you to break everything.
Well, I mean, it's news to me.
Yo, you're using axe, right?
Yeah. Can I ask you a question?
Boy, I got a present for you. That fire axe kind of ugly. You should use this instead.
All I want to do is... I picked up my glue again. Wait, drop this. Oh, give me a second, give me a second, give me a second. Oh, this is gonna be so cool. It's gonna be so cool, chat. Darn, I'm making it better.
Also, here's a forge book in the pile of loot that you dropped.
All right, where is it? 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 Do you like my flaming steel axe?
Fuck yeah. Alright, are we supposed to jump to this? That's like the only way I can see from here. But it's not where we... No, that's where we came from. What?
Oh, we're stupid. No!
Are we?
Yep.
How stupid are we?
Very stupid. What's dance off? It's when you make the enemy dance, and you make random things dance.
Oh, there's a switch right there.
Yep, did you hit it?
Yeah.
Hey, Dar. Hey, Dar.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Right here, right here.
Oh, that switch up, that switch I did, I think just opened a shortcut then. It's opened that door below.
Actually, I think this is just a secret area.
Okay, well then this switch is where we're supposed to go. Right here.
See you turn into a giant woman. Nope, nope, do not go this way. Not this way. Back up.
Oh, buddy. Not blow our pathway.
Where'd he go?
Where the fuck did he go? He went somewhere.
All I wanna do is see you turn into a giant woman.
I pressed the button.
It blew up.
I pressed the button, it exploded. Sorry, I see Bud, I get excited.
Oh, have you hit the redeem in the bottom that lets you join the queue nap time, by the way? Gotta take my pills and I'm taking some other stuff. What
the fuck?
No, 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 no. No, 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 no,
Actually, one sec. You wanna make sure I don't die for a second?
Oh, I went to the... Sure.
I just realized I have 8 skill points. I should be using these.
Oh, yeah. Na 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 na. Yeah, this is where we're supposed to go, I think.
We had this pathway over here though too.
Oh, well, I'm gonna go this way, and you can go that way. Wee. Where's your head at? Where's your... I wish I could hear so I could see if there's anything down here. Oh, God name it, Amethyst. Sometimes I'm not paying attention all the time, all right? Like, I mean, sometimes, girly pop.
Yeah, I do wish I could have heard. I could have heard that fucking horde that I just walked into.
All right, so you know what? Honestly, the way I went was not the way we're supposed to go. So, I'm gonna get to you eventually, Dar. All I gotta do is find you. I hate that. Where's Dar?
Oh, sir, calm down. Calm down. Don't spit on me.
Chat, spit on Dar.
spitters.
All I wanna do is see you turn into a giant woman. It's all right, chat. We're gonna make it there. I don't know where Dar is actually. Oh no, okay. So we go up here, jump around, and get up, and get down.
Still, I'm waiting for you so you don't get to miss anything.
All right, I miss you, Dar. Ain't no comment about that. I understand how it is. Da don't give a damn if I miss him. Da don't give a damn.
Fuck, I was taking a drink. Zombies, fuck off.
Me when the zombies. Me when the zombies. God damn it, the 1001. What do you mean the 1001? What are you talking about, sweetie? Yo, nah. Da 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 da. Na 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 na. Da da da. Oh my Camille, what are you gonna be for Halloween? I don't think I'm gonna dress up for Halloween this year. Seekers, what do you see? What are you confused about nap time? You ain't said anything to me yet.
What happened?
I ain't known. I ain't be known. Alright, there's Da. We went across here. We jump around.
Yeah, and then there's a door right to the right to the left, and then you can follow the path and get over here. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel like it's gonna get a little bit rough because I'm doing a little fucked on ammo.
Oh, there's a 7 days to die thing there, right? Do you see a 7 days to die button? The one that says 7 days to die.
I love the shotty.
Yeah, the integration. No, it doesn't matter. It don't matter. It don't matter. It's fine. It's fine nap time. I can't explain it to you. There's a redeem that says 7 days to 7 days to die. If you don't see it, I can't help you.
Can we loot that? Ow!
Loot what? There you go.
I might be dead. Oh, he fell.
I don't know how much they cost. I just know it says 7 days to die.
Fuck. Alright, that put me a little bit lower, but hey. The 1,000 one? Well, wait, what costs 1,000?
Napped the join the game thingy. No, I did not set the cost. The cost comes automatically with the Twitch setup. I also, do you see how many redeems there are? There has been over 100 some different redeems that I've done at different times. I do not know the value of most of them.
All right. Did you go up?
Nope.
Where the fuck are you? Oh, you're stuck. There you are.
I'm still looting. You ain't gonna loot any of these ammo? Any of the ammo piles?
I didn't see. Oh, there is ammo piles. I didn't fucking see them. I'm blind. What can I say?
Oh, the military chest right here?
Oh shit! Shotgun crafting skill? Don't mind if I do. I would just got done healing, and you'll bring my health right back down.
Well, stop being so near the things I'm shooting.
I can't help it if zombies are after my ass.
You wanna go hit that button?
Button!
There you go. You go get that one, sweetie. Oh, dog.
Oh, that's a lot of shit.
Oh, damn, I'm bleeding.
Yeah, boy.
Do I not got any healing? There you go.
Are you fucking healing, dude?
I'm trying to find my. There it is. Oh my! I immediately stopped bleeding once I finally grabbed the bandage.
I'm proud of you.
Amazing. You know, I just want a little water.
Oh, do you need water? I can give you some water.
I need some water.
Here you go. Have some tea.
Thank you, thank you.
You know, you can have this too. Shit.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's grab this. I guess I don't need that, do I? Did you loot all these books? Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Baddy da.
I gotta focus on my pistol and shotty mainly. I ain't got really guns for the other shit.
Oh. I'll wait until I don't.
That they give you drinks.
Yeah, they just give me drinks now. Drink and drank and drunk. I do think it's funny that boiled meat restores your hydration. How poorly are you hydrated?
Wait, it gives you I did not know that.
Yeah, boiled meat gives you hydration and food.
That's fucking amazing.
Here we go. What do we got? Oh, sweet. Nap time hates us, is what it is. See? I knew it! Nap time, sweetie, why do you hate me? What did I do to you? What did I do to make you hate me?
Run! What is that?
Was what?
What the fuck? Look. He's blue!
Yeah, hey, keep her demon weak range. Keep her demon weak range. Watch out, Nate.
I see it. Oh, I'm on fire.
I'm dead. I'm dead. Cause of nap time.
I'll be joining you here soon. Oh, they're munching on your booty.
None of the redeems will work until we respawn. It's gonna take at least a minute before it works. Damn, I don't know how I'm gonna get up
I don't
there.
think have we unlocked a shortcut at all?
We've unlocked like a single one.
I'm gonna check out this other room that we unlocked and hopefully it unlocks a
why
shortcut
not?
for you.
I'm out of stamina. Why can't I jump? What is going on here? Alright, that's jumping. Oh my god. Does this game not allow you to sprint and jump at the same time?
Your stamina's low would be my only guess.
Because every time I do it, I just like fall. Oh, that's gonna be a nightmare. I should keep like a pistol on my back or something.
You don't you have a pistol on your back?
What was that?
I thought you kept the pistol.
Nah, not when I die.
Oh, you mean yeah? No, I got what you're saying. I didn't register.
Yeah.
Hey, you got jump.
Alright.
Nap time, help me out with that jump.
I think everything's too high to actually utilize the jump. There we go. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get anywhere with it, unfortunately. Oh well.
Only had wood.
Yep, it's a nice gesture. I think they intentionally did that. Now that I see it, because I mean, it's like a single inch away.
Wait, do you have wood on your body?
Nope. Well, maybe, I don't know.
Let me see if you have building blocks. I might be able to drop you shit. I can at least try. Let's see. You do have 4 building blocks.
Oh, and my jump ran out right when I got to a point I could have used it. It's fine. It's fine. I'll get there eventually.
Well, shit. I was gonna try to help.
I'm so lost. Y'all good, y'all good, chat. You don't have to give me any buffs right now. I don't think it's gonna really benefit anything. Until I can actually figure out where I'm going. Into the water, that's where I'm going.
Is there a shortcut around here that I can unlock for you? Wait, I do think we've been in this. Yeah, we're in this area. I'm gonna just work on breaking this fucking door down.
You're fine, you're fine.
Yeah, this just save you a little bit of time. Hey, chat, can you guys get me energized?
Oh, this is this
Got a lot of
stupid
breaking to do.
silo.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be dead in a second.
Okay, I locked at least to right here. I don't know how big of a fucking area this is, but I opened a pathway. I'm trying to come down to meet you, so I can at least help you out.
No, you're fine. I'll get up there eventually.
I'm gonna come help. I ain't gonna leave you stranded. I can see you. Go just a little bit lower.
Thank you.
Okay, so from here we went this way.
Did the music just went weird? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
So weird.
Did I miss you?
Do you miss me, Dar?
Bro, this fucking building is so fucking huge. It's easy to get lost in. Oh wait, you're okay. Wait. I saw your thing. Is there a way I can break something near you?
You don't need to.
Oh wait, yeah, you're actually almost here. You're almost to me.
Hello, Skitter. How you doing?
Hello.
My brain is
Welcome back.
No, I'm still not. Now I'm here. Okay. Yeah, I'll finish this building, then we should be good. I almost fell next to you.
If you would have fell.
Up in the end, I would have killed. I would have.
Oh fuck. Yeah, focus on getting your shit. I'm gonna try to keep the guys on me.
I have no clue where any of my stuff is. Oh, it's up top. Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
Be a turn until.
Oh, there's a fucking bird.
It's gonna be really funny if I can't make it to my stuff because the bird gets me and I bleed out.
I am going to cry. I get your shit.
Oh, this is gonna take me a
Heal
little
up,
bit.
do anything you need to do.
Gonna take me a bit because I somehow ended up with more stuff than I had before.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Oh, do you need 22 lockpicks?
Mother! Found the bird. I could take him. I mean, if you want me to hold on to him. I have 72 lockpicks on me.
All right. Let's go.
All right.
Oof. my head hurts. So I'm sorry, chat. My head's been hurting all day. I've just been like in the worst condition I've been in a long time, just physically. It is not my intent to be this low energy. I will definitely be taking a nap after this and hopefully trying to get rid of this headache. Thank you for the zombie.
Just on the outside, you know, hanging out.
Why is everybody continuously blaming the gummy worms I ate? The gummy worms did not cause me to have a headache and vomit. I'm ill. Do you want to press the button? I know you want to press the button. Maybe we should not press the button?
Hi there. Oh, that is a lot of shit. That's a... Oh, and they're coming from behind. I'm jumping down to this level. I need to pop a first aid kit. I ran outside just, you know.
Oh, shoot.
What the fuck is that? I've never
hey, chat,
seen
can you
that
redeem
guy.
jump? Chat, can you possibly redeem jump? I would love you so very much. You'd be my favorite person of all time.
What the fuck did I just fight?
The orange guy?
No, it looked like a fucking juggernaut, basically.
Oh, thank you, chat. Okay. How'd you get up here?
Fuck, 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 fuck.
I found the juggernaut.
Oh, you found one
He's
too?
blowing up. He's blowing up. What's this? What's this?
Oh, boost range. That's huge.
Oh, shoot.
You should one-shot everything you hit right now. That's actually fucking massive. Whoever gave boost range, you're hot.
Oh my Jesus. Thank you. Ah! I should not have survived that. I appreciate that. That was very kind and sweet and amazing.
Oh my god, there's still so much! Behind you.
Come on. Oh, I'm almost out of ammo, aren't I? What was that?
Ammo.
Oh, what the heck is that? Rocket ammo? Neither ammo I can use right now, but very cool for the future.
Another blue guy right here. They're fucking tanky, dude.
Yeah, they are. Okay.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie, this shotgun has done so much. Okay, this fucking dude in the stairs needs to thank you. What the fuck's this bird? Fuck off, you're getting annoying.
Right? Kaplow. Oh, I love silly noises. Silly noises are the
Same.
best.
Why does it sound like there's so much shit?
Because of...
Did you blow up this area?
Not intentionally if I did. I don't think I did though. I think they attacked through it. Oh, we gotta go down. We opened the hatch.
Down?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Uh-huh. Not that way. That's where they all came from. Interesting.
I think there's a way over here one side.
The constant squeaks. I think somebody's trying to eat through something.
Oh, well, with jump, I kind of just jumped on the roof.
No.
I don't know I'm supposed to be up here.
Oh, hey, thank you for that. Nades. I love nades. Oh, wait a second. I might have figured it out, Dar.
Okay.
Yep. Come back over here.
I'm currently killing.
Oh, that's fair. Hashtag beat zombie dog attack. How dare you? You're allowed to be mean. You're allowed to be mean.
I don't know how you're supposed to get up here, like, legit.
Oh, I figured it out. There was... Shoot, 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 shoot. Where's my gun? Where's my gun? Where's my gun? I hate the birds! If I could stop lagging for 3 seconds!
I'm giving air support!
Dogs!
Oh my god, they summoned a horde of dogs on you. Wait, how'd they get to me? Okay, there's somewhere you get to me from where you're at, because the dogs just ran up to me. I have no idea how, but they got to me from you.
Amazing. You say while I would go repair everything.
Oh, it's right here. Okay, I found it. Hi, how are you?
I'm alive. I gotta scrap the helicopter. Give me a sec.
That's fair. Do you know the scary part? We still ain't done.
Ooh, medicine.
Bow crafting skills real quick I'm dropping for you.
Yay.
And also a thing that just makes your bows do better, one of the volume books.
Yay.
And blade crafting skills.
I'll take it. Oof. Boy, oh boy.
I'm gonna hide inside for a little bit, because I need to get my shit back up. Oh, I have a broken leg. Chad, can you give a regen? That'd be nice of you.
No, take Dar's
Only
leg.
if you want to be nice.
Just take Dar's leg. Starting your leg
What
for,
the
huh?
fuck? That's my leg!
My leg now. Nom, nom, nom. Oh, it's you, Dar.
You
know
almost
what
hit
the
me.
most annoying thing is?
Huh.
I still don't know how much ammo I have in my gun ever because water is still covering the gun slot.
That's amazing. If we get into a fight, it's gonna be bad. What? What?
Nothing.
Oh wait, over here?
Yeah. Oh, you ready? You ready, Dar?
What? What's about to happen?
This is gonna be the place. This is gonna be where the big stuff happens.
Oh, I assumed that was the big stuff.
You don't think there's more?
No, that wasn't the big stuff. That was not the big stuff. That
Come
was
on
not,
back.
in fact, the big stuff.
Well,
Oh, I fell. Yeah.
they just went after you. Oh, jeez.
Bro, this guy wants me.
Come on.
I am fucked in so many different ways right now.
Learn something. I need to learn about guns. Chad, I need to learn about guns real quick. Handgun.
Was it just a little bit more of a scare? Nothing too bad.
All right. I know about guns now. I know kung fu.
All right, that was it. We're done.
Really?
Yep. I mean, to be fair, that like final spot, that was a shit ton of fucking guys.
Well, yep.
Yo, iron knuckled if you want them.
Might as well. I'll open all the boxes.
I'm gonna start opening the big chest. Oh wait, there's a gun back here. I'll open it too instead. All right, we did another 5-star down.
So, Dar,
I forgot that thing hurts you over time.
Did you?
Yep. Uh-huh.
God damn it.
Dar, you collect your loot. I'm fine being dead. I'll get my stuff next time we stream.
There's a machete up here for you.
Oh, fine.
Actually, I need to. I'm about to die to that too. If I'm being honest, I need.
Hey, hey, chat. Do you want to give me? Oh, we have 28 seconds before you can give me a jump. I know, right?
That was beautiful.
Look, I'm not smart. I never claimed to be. I've never once in my life claimed to be smart. You cannot blame me for this one. Chat, can you blame Dar for this one instead of me? Thanks.
Yeah, we know whose fault it is.
Yeah, Dar's. Dar, I can't
Well,
believe
I do have some goodies for you when you get back.
I can't believe you do this to me, Dar.
Yeah, what can I say? Get off on it.
Heck yeah!
Hey, you gotta jump.
How are we gonna make it up here? Chat, I'm taking risks. I fell! Shut up!
I'm taking risks. I fell!
I'm wasting this immediately. Ugh, this is so stupid. This is so stupid! There we go. Come on!
I'm grabbing all the main big goodies, and I'll just drop them for you, so you can just grab your stuff, and we can go to an area where I can show you everything.
Hate this so much. I hate this. I don't want to run through this stupid building anymore. It's so... Where am I?
Now I get to go see if I can help you out, Eddie.
The problem is we've opened so many, like we've broken up random things and things have been broken open that I can't find the pathway anymore because none of this feels like the pathway anymore. There it is. I should not have taken any risks. Thank you for giving me a jump. I used it very stupidly. I don't want to run around anymore.
I'm surprised this, like, a lot of the 5 stars, they have, like, shortcuts, like, checkpoints.
Oh, this one has.
This one,
they're all junk. They're all not worth it.
yeah. It's, like, not really any major ones, sadly, with this one.
Or they are, we just have completely missed it.
That's actually very true, too. It's possible.
Okay, I'm finally back in this area again. So tired. Okay, this way. This way. From now on, I'm keeping the pistol on my car.
Door here. I'm gonna just try to open this. I think this will be a shortcut if I can.
Driving in my car right after a beer. Hey, that bumper shaped like a deer. DUI.
How close are you to me?
Who knows?
Oh, you're level down.
I don't know where I am anymore. I just want to. Thank you for the bits. Thank you. Mwah. Appreciate it.
Oh, I fucked up.
Dark killed himself, chat.
No, but I think I did find a shortcut.
Thank you for the bits. Ugh, there's a storm. I can't even get my stuff now.
Hey, okay, I did unlock a shortcut here. We have a little, we might be able to make it in time before the storm hits, and then I can show you the shit inside. Wait, where'd you go?
Up.
Were you not following me?
No, going up. I'm getting my stuff.
Oh. Oh, you went past me already. I missed you going past. Okay. Oh, wait, you went to the wrong bag. I want you to know where I was at what brought you right here.
$39, $38, $37.
Come back over here. Down here. Jump down.
Where?
Right here. Right behind you. Come here. Come in this door.
Oh my god. Celebration. Ooh. Anyways, hi beaming, hi bunny, how you doing?
Grab all your shit and then come back. I did grab all the stuff so I can just drop it from you. Hopefully chat's nice and we'll give you regen, because this storm's about to hurt a lot.
Shit. Do I need the stuff? I need that.
Put your armor on?
It's on. I'm inside. Okay. I'm just gonna stay here. Demon sounds? I don't know what you're talking about. We made it, Dart. I'm safe. I'm alive.
We did do it.
Yeah. It took me so long to get up there.
Alright, I'm gonna try. I want to find my way to you.
I got this.
Because I do got some shit I want to show you. I gotta show you the loot.
Are you below me?
Because a lot of the loot we got is for you.
Where are you?
You went over there. Oh wait, I think you jumped through I think I know where you jumped. One sec, I'm gonna jump down at you.
I have this. Alright, Dar.
Yeah, you just jumped down here, didn't you?
Yeah.
Howdy.
Watch out.
What did that achieve?
There is less floor now.
All right, so are you ready for the goodies I got for you?
How you doing, Be Mad
First
Bunny?
things first, we got another one of these for you to set up.
Wait, it's blocking my face completely? I'm sorry, is this better? Can you see me now? What's this? Ooh, okay. I like it.
That's other stuff for you. I know you like to take apart cars. I'm pretty sure this is a upgraded tier than what you already have.
Ooh, yes, which means I can scrap this.
I know you also like to gather resources, so here's a steel pickaxe.
Woo! I've been wanting a pickaxe for so long.
Steel one also. Here's some books.
Oh, I need to make up some more space in my inventory. Give me a second. I'm doing good. I'm very tired. And I'm sick, and I'm dying, and I will die, and oh my...
Oh, you mother...
I got this.
I don't think he has
I don't
four
got
to give
this.
us.
I forgot the floor was gone. Okay, where's the book? How many forged heads do you think I don't know. I was gonna say, how many do I have? It's covered up. In the 60s is all I'm gonna tell you. Alright, let's try this.
Alright. Ow!
That hurt?
I wasn't done. I was just waiting for you to be done. Alright, here's this for your pickaxe.
Ooh, bunker buster. Okay.
Alright, and then the fun thing is you get this now.
Ooh, machete. I like machete.
And you are hitting me, sir.
How?
I don't know, but you are.
You
I
are
did
slowly
get
killing me.
2 armor. What chest piece do you have?
I have commando right now. I will use anything.
What's level is it, I mean?
Oh, 1.
Alright, here's level 3 chest piece.
Okay, ooh, farmer outfit. I'll be a farmer. Heck yeah, chat. I'm a farmer now.
I did, if any of us want to reset our skills, get a Grandpa's Forgetting Elixir, too. So if we want to change builds later, we get a freebie.
Nice, 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 nice.
And then here's some extra arrows for you, or bolts.
Do you like my look?
Oh, yeah. But no, that's actually... That was a lot of upgrades for you from this, which is awesome.
Yeah, I'm happy.
I got an 8x scope for my hunting rifle, so I'm really happy with that.
Very nice.
And how many books am I away from getting what I really want? Oh, I'm 1 shotgun volume book away to have all the shotgun books.
Nice, 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 nice.
Oh, I'll be able to one-shot all wooden blocks with a shotgun once I have it done. That's fucking sick.
Oh, look at you.
Okay, so we need to modify you to remove you. Drop you. Do this. Actually, I'm gonna scrap this. And I'm gonna modify my machete. Where's my machete? Chat, I've lost my machete. Chat, where's my machete? Chat, where'd the machete go? There it is. Modify. Oop, oop.
So, 2 more shotgun books, and I'll be able to upgrade both our shotguns again.
There it is.
Yeah, machete looks sick. Is that the final blade?
I don't know.
Yes, that's the final blade tier. It's machete. So that's actually pretty sick. 2 more shotgun books, and I'll be able to craft us pump shotguns.
Yeah.
And it'll be a long time till we get to the next tier, but still, pump shotgun's sick. I might also work on crafting pistols, because that's how we can get the SMGs, and I really like the SMG.
Jibbits be rich, Jibbits do be rich. Oh, the M60 machine gun. How much are you on machine gun?
For the machine gun, I'm not learning that really at all. I only got 9.
No, you're not learning that at all. You have more than me. I'm trying to learn it.
I think I got those early when we were deciding guns. I've been trying to like keep away the guns. Like the only guns I'm gonna focus on are shotgun and hunting rifle, and then maybe handgun, unless you want to focus on handguns.
Pistols, right? Or you said SMGs, the one that...
So once you get to 46, you can craft the SMG, which I do like that a lot.
I have one of the of the pistol, so you can keep it.
Yeah, the SMG I am actually a fan of, and so I'll probably end up using pistols a little bit too.
Nice, nice, nice.
All right. Well,
All right.
we did good. We did it.
All right. Are
Got
you
a
ready?
lot of fucking levels from this area too.
Yeah. Chat, we are gonna call it here. I hope you all had a fun, lovely little time. Dar, when is your Jeopardy thing happening?
Next week.
What date?
It's an evening one. Saturday the 11th at 9 p.m. EST.
All right, chat. Saturday, 9 p.m. at 11. On the 11th, 9 p.m. Dar's going to be doing a Jeopardy thing. Go check out Dar. Let's get a shout out for Dar. Shout out Daroard.
No, I'm really excited for this Jeopardy because you remember the SMP I was a part of? I have 3 it's all SMP members.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah.
Okay, go check out Dar. Go follow Dar. Go watch the Jeopardy show. It's a lot of fun. Dar does a great job. We're gonna call it here. I'm exiting.
All right.
Thank you all. I apologize for being so tired. I'm going to go take a nap for like 3 or 4 hours, and hopefully feel better before my next stream. I also have stuff I need to work on.
Yeah, get some rest.
As I chug a Mountain Dew. I don't need sleep. I need caffeine. We're gonna raid. I don't know who's on right now. But yeah, we'll be back later. I'll be a lot more energetic and have a better vibe. I promise. Lulu's on. We're raiding Lulu. Lulu's titties. Okay.
What?
Go raid Lulu. Give Lulu all my love. Oh thank God. Okay. We'll do a lucky raid. Boop, 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 boop. And there you go. Okay, chat. Thank you all for being as amazing as you are. I will see you next time. Mwah. Mwah. Mwah.